everybody, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. This is a weekly podcast delving into the lore of Final Fantasy XIV, and I am...
You still missed the tagline, but we'll let it slip. It's fine. A weekly journey through the lore of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, it gets the point across.
We gotta nail the marketing.
You need to... Okay.
If we're gonna make the big money, you gotta be on
sake.
point. Anyways, I'm Levi.
I'm Jen, the person who doesn't know our own freaking tagline, apparently.
And today we're going to take a look at the starting character experience in the city of Ul'dah.
Yay.
And some of the characters that we meet at the very start. This is for characters with the Gladiator, Pugilist, and Thaumaturge character classes. They all start in Ul'dah.
Whoop whoop. Thaumaturge represent.
So first off, Jen, what is the show?
Well, I am glad you asked. We just kind of felt that there wasn't a lot of content out there getting into like the history of the story, background information on the city-states, the races, your jobs.
Like actually when I first started playing, first off the game hits you very hard and fast with a ton of concepts right out the gate, and it just washes over you, like sure, Aether.
It's slowly
the Empire,
unfolding the
Almaljas.
narrative to you. Yes.
It's just names coming hard and fast.
A lot of nouns.
And I had no idea what the stuff was, and I wish I did because it's important and it would help me understand the earlier events much better than I did. It took me a long time to really grasp the depth of this setting.
Yeah.
And I went looking actually when I first started playing for a podcast like this one, hopefully, that actually talked about these things and would help me kind of onboard into this world.
Yeah, it's just so great to know like the how and the why, because the designers have created this universe that is so well thought out. It's so deep and rich. So I think it's doing it a service to really kind of explore some of the story behind it.
I agree. In this podcast, the plan here is to follow the story of a character, a brand new character, through the game. When you start the game, there are 3 options for starting cities, which are determined by your character's class. These are the desert city of Ul'dah, the forest city of Gridania, and the pirate coastal city of Limsa Lominsa. And as you start there, the stories are customized to the city that you begin in. So you have a different experience entirely if you start in Gridania versus in Limsa, for instance. We'll be following 3 different paths at the start here, one of each of the different cities' characters, and then we'll merge around level 15, where the stories combine and go forward into the bigger stakes beyond those first cities.
Yes, and each city has its own tribulations, its own narrative, its own players, its own struggles. And you don't really, unless you have a starting character in that city, you don't really get a firm grasp on what's going on in these other areas. Like your home city, you're going to be very familiar with its bullshit.
But having replayed through Ul'dah, I've learned a lot more than I did my first time because I didn't have the appreciation I do now for all the things that happen in the Ul'dah starting character experience.
Yes.
Next up, let's talk about our schedule. Our plan is to alternate between episodes about main story content and side content. For example, today we're talking about Ul'dah, and next week we'll talk about the Gladiator class. And then the third episode will be about an Ul'dah character's journey where we left off the first time. Let's talk briefly about the Lalafells, since most characters we're going to meet today are also Lalas.
Yeah, despite their cuteness, they have a very violent history.
Lalafells are by far the shortest race. They're maybe, 3 feet? Maybe 3
they
and a
range,
half?
but they're, thigh height.
And they have a perpetual, pudgy...
They have very round midsections, and they waddle, and they swing their arms, and they look like little babies.
It's fantastic. I wouldn't call them little babies, but they are little potatoes.
The community colloquially calls them potatoes.
When I first saw Lalas as a character creation option, I was not impressed by them. It was like, who would want to be these little guys here? They look extremely dorky. However, I think the game sells them immensely well, and some of the best characters in this game are Lalas. They're emotes and gestures and just interactions in general really sell what a unique and personable race they are.
And it's kind of welcome, actually, just visually and narratively to have them as like in the mix.
They've also been involved in some very heavy hitters in Eorzea's past too. They actually founded cities like Nim and Vok, and later Ul'dah and Sildee. These are black magic cities and extremely like bloody, violent societies here that have been led by these little Lalas. There are two main types of Lalas in the game. There are the Plainsfolk and there's the Dunesfolk. Plainsfolk are more common in the city of Limsa Lominsa, where they actually first encountered the Limsans, and they started by trading with them and eventually brought over their families to settle in the city of Limsa Lominsa.
The Dunesfolk, you can tell the difference because their eyes basically look like they don't have pupils, because they have that protective film over them to protect them from dust storms and things like that.
Right.
Other than that, I don't think there's really any other aesthetic differences between them.
The Plainsfolk, though, come from a farming heritage. They lived in thatched huts, which were connected by subterranean tunnels, much like an anthill. And it's said that the hair of Plainsfolk, which tends towards earthen colors, is there to camouflage them against avian predators.
Oh, yeah, they can just get plucked off the ground because they're so tiny.
I
You
think
absolutely pray for a big raptor.
a real-world bird could probably pick up a Lala on a good day. And for some of the birds...
they pick up fucking mountain goats.
Right.
They could just do a Lala in each claw.
Last interesting note about the Dunesfolk is that they have a custom of serving their children tea laced with venom as a means of developing a resistance to venomous desert creatures.
Interesting.
What is your character this time through, Jen?
Right. So it's been a lot of time, like psychologically, since starting the game and starting in Ul'dah for the first time. So created an alt character so I could do that over again and refresh the experience, which was really charming, actually. It's just very nostalgic. I'm saying this like I've been playing the game for 8 years, since like 1.0 or something. No, I've only been playing since last August, but it feels like a complete lifetime has happened between then and now. So, I started as a gladiator in Ul'dah as a femro, and you load your ass up. You wake up in the cart with 3 other folks.
Well, tell me more about your gladiator first before we get down to the actual events.
There's not much to tell,
What about your name?
Her name is Indiana Cajones, and I'm like as you're playing the game, you're like, ooh, that's a fun name, and you just write it down. So I've got a little notepad full of names, I pulled it from my stash. Hopefully I don't get flagged. I don't know, but I looked up the meaning of cajones means drawers.
Nobody thinks it means drawers. You're fooling no one with that
Yeah,
explanation.
well, if anybody challenged me with it, I could just pull up the translation.
It means drawers, I swear.
Yeah, Indiana underwear.
Yep. I made a pugilist, a Hrothgar pugilist, and it's pretty big. They're pretty bulky, but I'm less turned off than I thought I would be with that experience. It doesn't feel too ungainly or like I'm taking up too much space, or like I guess like my lope is weird because of my large character size. Since the speeds are all the same for any character size, so like the Lalas take these weird giant steps.
Oh, because they're so fat in the middle.
Yep.
They have to take these like big swinging like a dignified waddle.
Yep.
This is really cute.
The Hrothgar have these big lopes, but they don't feel unpleasant. So I think I might want to play a Hrothgar. And
interesting.
Honestly, I don't like armor that shows a lot of skin in general. But in this case, because you're showing fur, I actually might lead into the armor sets that show more body than what I'm used to.
Interesting.
So,
is ERP in your future, or?
If by ERP you mean, I don't know.
Excellent role play.
No. How about extremely robust pecs?
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you. So I picked a dumb name as well, and the name is Cat Big, spelled Caitbigg. I made my name with intent of it also being a dumb pun as well, but honestly, I kind of like it because when you see it on the screen, it doesn't look like a joke name.
Nope.
Because you think it's like Kate. Big with the 2 G's doesn't looks like...
Could be a standard surname.
Exactly. So actually, I might remake Cat Big as my long-term character.
That's great.
TBD. I think the best names have a in-universe aspect to it, but also have like a joke in them as well.
Yeah,
If
like
you can nail
I
the
got
balance.
serious with my first character, and I'm like, it's time to inject a little. 'Cause I see a ton of players with these amazingly clever joke names, and when you see them running past you, you're like, oh my god, that's clever. But then I also think, if I have to see that name, my stupid ass joke name, like Big Daddy Balls or whatever, in like the MSQ story, because they put your name in text, so you have to read your stupid hello there, Big Daddy Balls, we have an emergency. Like there are serious moments, and for me to have to read, we are engaging the Void Sent in battle, Lieutenant Big Daddy Balls. I don't think I could hang if I had done that initially.
Well, the thing is, they almost never say your first name and last name together. It's either title, last name, or just your first name.
It's usually just your first name.
Right. So
unless you're doing Baja.
Like I like this game a lot, and I would not want to break my own immersion by giving myself a dumb name.
Yeah.
But if the name looks real in isolation, either because it's...
like what's up, Cat or Kate or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that tangent aside, you're talking about that cart we get into, but before then, there's an opening cutscene in a blue ethereal void.
This is immediately after you're done creating your character. You set your name, you're ready to go, and then the game begins. And there's blue, sparkly, swirly stuff, and you're floating in this in space, in a I don't know, you don't know where you are exactly.
Right.
You don't know if, am I unconscious?
Well, let's keep it light on details here, because this is all foreshadowing and...
Right. This sets up kind of some of the mystery that you're going to have to unravel, and then obviously they spit out a bad dude. Here's a bad guy for you.
So you hear a lady's voice saying, hear, feel, think, which are some iconic words. And then a shadowy bad dude comes flying at you, and your character gets transformed into it's like the level 45 gear you get when you level up quite a bit.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the class, in my perspective.
Wow.
But you see a look at your future character looking as hopefully cool as they will be at higher levels. And they interbattle with the shadowy person, and then you wake up. It was all just a dream.
And the shadowy person with a half-face red mask and a super edgelord looking black
It doesn't matter.
cloak.
It was all a dream.
Sure. You don't know. There's some stuff for you. Anyway, yeah. And so isn't this like a Skyrim thing where you like wake up in a cart?
Yes.
I've never played Skyrim, but I just know the meme. But that's literally what you do. You wake up in a cart.
Well, you do. You wake up in a cart here, but unlike in Skyrim, where I think you're a prisoner, in this game you're just heading out to Ul'dah.
Yeah.
And you're in a cart with a
taxi.
Older gentleman. It's more of like a merchant's cart, and because it's full of goods. And the older man, he's like got like tan skin, white hair.
Yeah, he's got his stuff, his wares on
His
the
name
cart.
is Brent.
Brent.
Like Brendt.
Brent.
Yes.
I totally forgot his name, but he's a very nice man.
And you're also with a couple of younger teenage Ellison as well, and they are being pretty rude.
They're very much in their own headspace. When I first started the game, I just thought, well, one, you notice immediately that they are clearly twins. And they're very distinct looking. However, they are not engaging you at all.
Well, actually, I had no idea you met these people. You don't even meet them. They're being assholes. Let's be fair here. He's like, I wish these guys would talk to me, and they're like, off in their own world, ignoring them pointedly.
Yeah, they don't even like glance at him or anything. So that seems
they're pretty shitty right now.
I mean, but who knows? Everybody's circumstances are going to be different when they're traveling to.
I guarantee
to a city.
they're like, these commoners, they're not worth their time. I
didn't get that vibe at all. They have it's just a tiny little Easter egg, but you don't really know what it means or who they are. They have their agenda, and they're not going to deviate.
Anyway, forget those guys for a while,
Yeah.
for several hours at least.
But yeah, it's just you and these three other people in the cart heading to Ul'dah to start your new lives.
So the cart is a chocobo-drawn cart. in the off chance someone is listening to this who do not know what a chocobo is, it's a big bird.
These are the main beasts of burden.
Yes,
in
it's like
Eorzea.
Sesame Street big bird, but a chicken.
Probably like the scale of a prehistoric ostrich.
Yep.
And giant claws, but they're adorable.
And the carts here, they have no wheels on them. They're like
nope.
They have like blimps or some
like
inflated gas bag being that, so they float over the ground.
Bag.
It's a gas bag. There's a gas bag over the ship. Or maybe it's like some
is my mother-in-law on the ship?
Nice. Anyway, so the cart is just drawn, suspended over the ground by the chocobos, which
so you're like, okay,
would be pretty smooth.
There is magic about
sailing, honestly. We don't have much time, though, to take in the scenery, however, as a group of brass blades come in and accost us immediately. So these are people who are wearing just like generic chainmail guard armor, and they have masks over their eyes that have like little holes in them, which I'm assuming is for the desert sun.
Yeah, for sure. It's multi-purpose to protect from sandstorms and from the sun. But they look very official. Like these are obviously, officers of the law.
It's true, but like, given it's like a cheese grater on their face, it doesn't seem very practical, to be honest.
You got to give it a little bit of artistic license there, but it adds to their I guess the vibe that you get from them, that you can't see their eyes, which is a standard trope for their motives are unknown at this point. Are they good guys,
their
bad
motives
guys?
are known almost immediately as they roll up and start shaking you down.
Yeah.
And they like, oh, wait, look, we found some drugs in your cart. Better pay us a bribe or we'll throw you in the pit.
Yeah, like, oh, look at that. We found a sack of illegal herbs. And you're like, what the hell is happening here? We're just making our way. So it sets the tone immediately for
Ul'dah.
For Ul'dah. And it's...
And these guys are the brass blades, which are essentially the private guards of the rich in Ul'dah. There's not really like a city guard. It's either like the army, the Immortal Flames being the army stand-in.
Yeah.
There's the brass blades who are the guards / the police for the rich, and then there's the Sultan Guard who guard. Yeah, Sultan Sworn. Thank you. Who guard the Sultana, and that's it. If you're poor, get screwed.
Basically, just rampant corruption, obviously. So immediately they plant illegal herbs.
Planning is stretched. Like, oh look, I dropped some herbs with your cargo. Oh, I found some herbs. Better pay us a bribe. It's so blatant. Yeah. They run the place. They know it. And
the merchant guy is like, all right, here we go. He's not even really that concerned. It's just another day.
Yep. Fortunately for him, though, Amalja show up there and distract the guards for long enough for us to get away.
This is a local beast tribe. These are
they're like
very large black lizard men. They're extremely imposing.
They're very thick.
They also thick, and they employ magic as well.
Yep. We see them again in much more detail later.
Oh yeah, yeah. They frequently ambush, caravans and such. It's a constant presence in the life in Thanalan. So that's what happens to you. You get ambushed by the Amalja, and now the brass blades have to deal with that, and now you can go on your merry way. Lucky you. Ul'dah.
Oriental setting in the city, don't know what the city is getting. One night in
Ul'dah.
the world's your
We get to Ul'dah finally, which is, the city-state that rules over the desert of Thanalan.
The jewel of Thanalan.
Thank you. So Thanalan is like the Omni Desert. It's got like scrublands, it's got rocky deserts, it's got sandy plains.
Yeah.
It's got the works as far as deserts go.
It's fabulous. It's
Desert's
beautiful.
got it. You can find it in Thanalan. And Ul'dah...
Chaparral.
Ul'dah, it is the Eorzean presence in Thanalan.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the strongest.
And it's your classic desert city, like big sandstone walls. It's got onion domes for the palace up top, towering over the walls. It's your big desert city to a T.
Mm-hmm. It looks great.
Ul'dah is the culmination of a long and troubled history here in Thanalan, none of which is actually explained to you as you roll up here. You're just like, oh, here we go, get rolling. But it's actually got a very storied past, which is not, for the most part in the game, or if it is, it's dropped in very piecemeal over time.
Yes.
So a long time ago, there was a city called Vak, and the Vaki discovered black magic. as we know it today, and your Black Mage Tar
Hey.
wields, for instance.
Thank you very much.
We look at Evok more in later quests, so we'll skip talking about them in too much, besides to say that their black magics helped to spark a calamity of past ages, which wiped out civilization as they knew it, and mages were persecuted for quite some time due to their role in the destruction of civilization back then.
Mm-hmm.
So to escape persecution, some of the Vaki mages went on to found a city called Beladia in the desert of Thanalan, and they hid their black magics as part of the worship of the sun goddess Azema. I don't quite know yet how these two tie together. I'm guessing it is part of the Black Mage quest, but it's been too long for me to recall how this ties into the Black Magic quest. So we'll punt that discussion for when we revisit Black Mages.
Yeah.
However, what we do know, though, is that they, instead of abolishing black magic or hiding it, they incorporated it into the worship of Azema. So now you have this black magic and religion tied together. Azema, of course, is one of the 12 deities of Eorzea.
That's interesting, because when you start as a thaumaturge and you go into the thaumaturge guild, they have a huge shrine to Ul'dahn in there. And so it's not clear. So you think, okay, so maybe this is like the patron deity of
black magic and thaumaturgy are different in this thing. And there's another shrine you go to in the black magic quest, I'm recalling.
Right, out in the middle of the desert. There's this, but that shrine is to the, I guess, the mother of black magic.
I think these are tied together, and I'm looking forward to going back to Black Mage and re-looking at this, because I think there's a connection there.
While.
But it's been so long I can't recall, so this will be a fun thing to revisit later on. Anyway, for the moment though, talking about the Vaki, they use black magic to actually divine water supplies in Thanalan, so they can figure out where to found their city of Beladia. However, like things go, the royalty of Beladia, these are all Lalafells here. The Beladian royalty is all Lalafells, and they feuded, and they had the royalty splintered into two groups, and they made their own cities. We'll take my ball elsewhere. We'd end up with two desert cities now called Ul'dah and Ul'dah. So Jen, looking at Ul'dah, Sildih, how do you think that's spelled, or pronounced rather?
It's Sildih seems weird. Sildih seems better. But again, we could
Sildih too, possibly?
I wouldn't say Sildih, no.
All right, we'll call it Sildih.
Okay, works for me until we are corrected.
Yep. Anyway, though, the fighting between Ul'dah and Sildih went on for generations, until this conflict culminates when a Sildih sultan named Lalafells, he diverts Ul'dah's water supply to Sildih. The citizens love this, but it's a bridge too far for the Ul'dahns, and they go on to wage all-out war on Sildih. They hire mercenaries from the nearby city-state of Alamigo, and they develop an alchemical concoction that reanimates the dead called the Trader's Spurn. And they proceed to launch this concoction into the besieged city of Sildih by catapult. So the city is under siege, and they're bombing it with essentially like biological weapons.
Holy
functionally
shit.
there, right? Between the siege and the dead coming back to life and attacking the citizens of Sildih, the city falls, and Ul'dah wins.
That's diabolical.
And it doesn't stop there, though, because this is not cool by this time standards also. So the Sultan of Ul'dah hides the secret about the Trader's Spurn and blames it on the Sildins, saying they created it to make an undead army and it backfired or something like that.
The old false flag or something.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So now they're here to liberate the city from its undead menace and not actually, destroying the populace from within and from without.
Gross.
This is kept a secret by the Ul'dahns for 40 or so years until a noble Huron, who, as a reminder, are the human type race. His name is Baldur Thorn, and he finds out about this and accuses the Sultan of Ul'dah, Sasagan ul Sisagan, and the Sultan is imprisoned for life as punishment.
But hey, he got his comeuppance. That rarely happens.
They still keep it a secret from the people, though. He gets punishment for his crimes against humanity, but nobody else knows besides the people in this inner circle here. And Thorn is made Sultan because the Lalafell Sultan is now in jail. So the Thorn dynasty now rules Ul'dah. And Thorn establishes a secret order of people called the Arbiters of Truth, which pass on knowledge to their descendants of the traitor Spurn. So the secret doesn't die out, but nobody besides the Arbiters knows the truth of what happened to Sildee. And in some years after that, I think it's a few generations, Ul'dah actually relocates to the ruins of Sildee. I'm guessing because the water supply there was probably better after Sildee diverted it over to that location. However, this comes with a complication as later on, undead that still roam the catacombs in the labyrinths beneath Sildee rise up. Ul'dah actually teams up with the Almalja, the lizards, and they wage what they call a holy war against the undead to purge them once and for all from the desert. So it's interesting here that the Almalja and the Ul'dahns are cool together and they team up here because today it's pretty frictious.
Definitely. And that could just be as Ul'dah starts to build itself and becomes a major center of trade in Thanalan and turning the sand into gold, as they say, then you have this disparity between the quote-unquote savages of the land and these beast tribes and Ul'dahns, whatever. Of course, that's just... I'm not gonna say human nature, but
it is in this game also human nature as well.
Yeah.
And I think when you say humanity in this game, they mean like all sentient races. They do throw around humanity as a term here, but they don't mean like hearers because there are no humans in this game.
Yeah,
but humanity
it's like
means,
mankind, and
yeah,
we
exactly.
still understand that that's what they mean.
Anyway, so I'm guessing that the Ul'dahn screw over the Almalja. And I would,
sure. Like, you're not useful anymore, so enjoy your little tent cities or whatever it is you guys are doing out there in the desert. And we're gonna cut you off and basically force you to, intercept our merchant caravans and steal from us and cause drama forever. And it's a problem. And even within the beast tribes, the Almalja, you have kind of like the thieving faction, and then you have a more benevolent, I guess... I don't know, we're like religious, because they're both pretty religious.
Let's table the Almalja talk for when we meet them in
Yeah.
detail. That's a whole other tangent. And we're skipping by a few of those for now, because otherwise we'd be here for hours talking about every single concept that we run into.
Oh gosh, there's just so much.
It's an info dump, and I've tried to figure out, like what should we talk about now and what should we talk about later on. We can't chase every rabbit hole right now, otherwise we'll never even enter the city.
But the history of Ul'dah does explain why there are still pockets of undead around Thanalan. And it's that I never, you just kind of take it for granted. Like, oh, zombie mobs, whatever. It's a video game. You're going to find zombie mobs. But yes, you will encounter dungeons and such with undead populating them. And now,
well, I think that the undead we meet are not all from the Spurn. I'm pretty sure there are other undead as well for other reasons.
Well, when you get, black magic and people who are not wielding it responsibly, to devious ends, yes, you're going to bring... There's a lot of bringing people back from the dead.
Yep.
Like, they got options.
Do they?
Apparently.
Anyway, to wrap up our Ul'dah history bit here, after the undead are purged from the new Ul'dah location, which is where we even have the city today. So the city today is where Sildee was, and that's where we are now.
Great.
But the Thorn dynasty passes control back to the Lalafells of the Ul dynasty after they feel like they did their job in cleansing the undead from the city. So the Lalafells are back in charge again of Ul'dah. And this is a different person. This is not... what's his face?
The prison guy.
Prison guy.
Right. No, it's a different
Sasagan.
It's a different dynasty as well, right?
It's the same dynasty, but a different person. Sasagan was also part of the Ul dynasty, as is our Sultana today, but he's long dead at this point when they put control back in the hands of the Ul dynasty. And like you mentioned beforehand, Ul'dah sees the star rise as a trading city. However, this means that the wealthy begin to compete with the nobility for power. To placate the rich, the Sultan creates the Syndicate, which is a group of 6 advisors that are picked from the wealthiest of the wealthy in the city.
Oh, so Citizens United, but with like fewer steps.
Right. And he's like, okay, guys, so, you're pretty rich now, and you got to say, so here's your advisory council to me, the Sultan.
Right. Now you have representation, like official representation in government, and on the face of it, it looks legitimate, but they're still pulling all sorts of bullshit. As is, like it's just like real life.
It is very much like real life. And now, of course, today in Ul'dah, the syndicate rule the city, and the Sultana is the figurehead, essentially.
Yes.
And
she still does have some power, but her main concern really is appeasing the monetarists.
Yep.
And it's a difficult position for her to be in because she is a very sympathetic character. She is a compassionate person. She's the person you want in the sultan position. However, she has a lot of balancing to do, and that becomes the crux of the plot of A Realm Reborn.
So that's what we walk into, is that whole mess there. And here we go, little adventurer that knows nothing, walking into the city.
Yeah. Do. I'm here to get my fortune and glory. And that's something that the merchant in the cart asks you, like, hey, so you're one of those new adventurers, huh? What are you after? And then it pops up with 3 different options, right? Because this is a role-playing game. It's fame, it's power. No, it's gil. So it's like fame, money, glory, or you can choose to not say anything. I think in my first playthrough, I chose to not say anything because I'm like, I'm not after any of those things. I am here to help the common man and save the world. I'm not here for money. But this time I chose glory because I'm a femro. It seems more appropriate. Femro gladiator. Glory, yes. So, yeah, you kind of have to make... You don't have to make that choice, but it's...
You should.
You should.
Pick a side.
Don't be embarrassed. You want to be rich by adventuring? Say you want to be rich by adventuring.
So as soon as we walk into Ul'dah, we're beset by Ringo.
This is the NPC. That's not his name, by the way. This is the NPC that's like, hey, welcome, adventurer. Let me tell you where to go. And then, like, your first few steps in the city, it's going to be everybody saying, well, just this once, I'm going to offer you some free advice. At every turn in the city, somebody is trying to... They want payment, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you want my fucking assistance? Give me the gil.
It's some heavy tone setting.
Yeah.
And this guy, his actual name is Wymond. He's like a snoop professionally. Like, there's like a side quest later on that has you like investigating someone's finances to see if they can pay their debts for him. So he's like a professional asshole, essentially.
Yeah. So he makes it his business to know who everybody is that comes into Ul'dah. Like, all right, you shady fucker.
And he kicks us, though, over to the Adventurers Guild.
Yeah, he's harmless, though. But
debatable.
To us.
To us, yes.
Yeah.
And actually, if you try and go elsewhere, you're in like a weird instanced area here that's only for new players.
You do not see any other PCs at this point.
I think
you're alone in the city, except for maybe the Brass Blades.
You might see other starting characters who are at the same step as you, but I can't...
Nope. It's
Is
just
it
you
just
and
you
Wymond.
all alone?
Yeah, it's just you in the quiet streets of Ul'dah, which is really unsettling, actually. Going back, after playing the game for a million years and going back, I was like, where is everybody? And then I'm like, oh, of course this is an instanced area. That makes sense.
If you try and go off the rails there and explore the city, the guards yell at you and make you go register yourself. You're not allowed to be an unlicensed adventurer.
Yes, they really, you're on rails for a bit here because the assumption is that you don't know what the fuck you're doing as a new player, and they want to get you started on the right track and not get too distracted.
So we have no choice at this point in time, because that's the law, to go to the Adventurers Guild and register with Momodi, who's the proprietor there at the Quicksand. Yes, thank you.
She's a Lalafell, of course.
Of course,
with the Lalafell naming convention.
We meet almost, except Wymond is a here.
He's a here. Mm-hmm. With crazy hair.
With crazy hair. He's a Ringo.
Oh, definitely.
So
he's straight out of Yellow Submarine.
And Momodi, she's the first nice person we meet. I guess it's not true.
She's so sweet.
The first nice person in Ul'dah we meet. Our merchant friend Brent was also nice as well.
Yes.
But yeah, she looks out for you. She's like, let's give you this recommendation letter here so people don't stonewall you.
Yeah, she's your mommy Momodi. Momodi mommy.
She also gives you like a very brief highlight on the current dangers. She talks about the Empire briefly, about the Ul'dah, and about the city itself being dangerous too. The city is a safe place, mechanically speaking. Like, you can't get attacked here. But in the fiction, it's very seedy, actually. And people are like, stay on the main streets. Don't go into the alleys.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and there is even when you're wandering around the city, there's a place called Pearl Lane that is actually where you can see some houseless folk, some people very much down on their luck. These are people who live in the street. It's like a very seedy area that they actually have rendered in Ul'dah.
Is also where the refugees get kicked to. People who are fleeing from
the refugee problem. Yes.
The conquering of Alamigo, and also from the Calamity.
From the Calamity in general, yeah.
And there are people who actually get inside the city. They go, oh, here you go to Pearl Lane, which sounds nice, but it's not. And there's actually a side quest too where the alchemist guildmaster, he's like, go bring this medicine to those people. And you do so. And like, it turns out he's been giving them experimental medicine, and they have to take it because it's something, even though it's untested, essentially.
Right.
So
that guy is a piece of fucking work.
He is a piece of work.
He has a really kind of sad backstory, but he didn't react to it very well.
No.
Anyway, but yeah. So do the alchemy craft quest, and you'll find out.
And actually, in the quicksand itself, you see someone getting like beat up in the background by
right away
some like moneylenders, goons,
yeah.
and Mamoru's like, yeah, it's fine, it's normal.
Yep, I'm sorry you had to see that, but
it's
the way it goes.
You think that they would maybe keep them out of the quicksand, but no.
No, that's they're handling their business. This is a place of business.
Business as usual.
Yeah.
Anyways, after we talked to Mamori for a bit, she gets you going. You give her your name. You're now an adventurer officially, a licensed and bonded adventurer.
Yes.
And you get out to go do some tutorial stuff in the city.
So it's just some general introductions to give you an idea of how to get around via Aetheryte, where to attune.
Well, I think that the least consequential stop is the Guildmaster stop.
Yeah, because then you still have a choice. Like, even though you started, like, you have a choice to like maybe I don't want to be a gladiator anymore.
No, you have to start the class you chose at character creation. You can't change until level 10, I believe.
Oh, okay. Because when I restarted, I'm like, oh, is this actually the point where I can say, nah, fuck you? And after I click on the blue quest and like, are you sure you want to be a gladiator? You can say, nah, I'd rather be a. You
can say no and go fuck off to Pearl Lane.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're still on rails here.
Yeah. In terms of the class, the class quests are separate, and we'll talk about Gladiator next week actually on the Gladiator episode. But every class gets told to go see their trainer essentially, and that's good for a new player to go see where you have to go for the next 30 or so levels to go rank up in your class of choice.
Yeah. So this is just your initial, where you can get some initial XP, some reasons to go farm some XP, and get some starting gear.
Yep.
Good shit.
But to the actual point that Jenna was making beforehand, the Aetherites are the more important stop here besides the Guildmaster for the moment.
She literally tells you like directions, which is really cute. So like, you head out the doors, you head west, and then on your right, you're going to see this big glowy thing, and that's going to be the Aetherite. And make sure you attune to it because blah, blah, blah. So this was really weird for me as a new Final Fantasy player. It's a really beautiful like space that they have for the Aetherite plazas and all I don't know. I thought it was really impressive. And because, especially in Ul'dah, because it's an enclosed space almost. So you got this like ethereal glow from the Aetherite.
Which is like a big blue crystal that
big blue
rotates slowly.
Yeah, it's
that's a major spoiler there.
Is it?
Holy shit, yes. That is getting cut.
No!
Huge we don't know what the fuck. Get out of here.
Literally like 6 in your level 6.
No fucking spoilers.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Just beep the name.
I am going to beep the whole section.
No,
that's
just beep the name.
Huge fucking spoiler.
I disagree. Anyway. But it's this beautiful big blue crystal floating in a space. So you attune to it. And that means that it recognizes your ethereal signature. And now you can travel between Aetherite nodes throughout the city.
Right.
And that's just how you fast travel.
We have a brass blade that's like, Achievement
he's
B,
so
100K.
cute. Yeah.
He's so cute. He's like, oh, just kidding. I'm not shaking you down for once. So cute.
Like, and so as a new player, this scared the shit out of me. He got me.
You're going to jail.
As soon as you attune to this thing, you cutscene to this little Lalafell brass blade, and he walks up, and like, all right, hey, look at you. That'll be 100,000 gil, and at this point, you might have like 7 gil to your name. 100,000 is an insane amount of money. So like, well, I guess part of my opening sequence here is going to jail. But then he just doubles over and laughs, and it's very cute. Like, I do that to all the newbies, blah, blah, blah. It's great.
It's pretty fucked up, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah. Overall harmless, but yes, your player is, your character is very clearly traumatized for a second.
He's in the position of power, obviously.
But it's so hard. It's so hard to take them seriously when they're itty bitty. Like, if this was a Here, or even like a Rogaden brass blade that walked up. I don't know. It's just there's this little Lalafell, another like Aetheryte Plaza guard in one of the future locations, and he's all clad in full metal armor, head to toe, full metal armor. So you have this little 2.5-foot dude stomping around the Aetheryte Plaza, looking at you, hey. No loitering, and he's just like stomping around all authoritatively in his tiny little metal suit, and it's really cute. You cannot take these people seriously.
That's how they get you. They disarm you, and they shank you in the back, either in the streets or in the purse.
You just, oh my gosh, you look at their tiny little feet, and his tiny little feet, and his little
they got Gen fools.
Metal armor. Oh man.
So the Aetherites here, they're, obviously in the game, mechanically speaking, they're there to teleport you. They're fast travel nodes, so you can teleport between locations. Anywhere where you have an attuned Aetherite, you can teleport to in, like a hot second. But in terms of the world itself, though, these essentially are places where the ethereal realm, which is like, spiritual realm is putting it very incorrectly, but close enough for the moment until we learn more about this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then like the corporeal realm, which is like the physical world we can see. And where these different worlds come close together is where you can place these Aetherites, and you can then travel. You can disincorporate yourself, so you turn your body to nothingness, and
it's
you
like
travel.
Mike TV.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you travel through the ethereal sea to these nodes, and they're like lodestones, so they're beacons in the sea where you can essentially navigate towards. And there's actually an instance in the city's history where the Ul'dahns destroyed an Aetherite that the Sildee army was traveling to.
Rude.
And like hundreds of Sildee soldiers were lost in the sea.
That's so fucked up.
Right?
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, they essentially, their
oh, man.
consciousness disincorporated because they had nowhere to go to with this node destroyed.
That's awful.
So Aetherite, serious business.
It is. And yes, it becomes major part of the plot going forward as well.
Anyway, the last trip here, besides the Guildmaster and the Aetherite.
Oh, you go to the market. So this is the Sapphire Avenue. You go and speak to the main little guy there, and of course he's like, fuck off unless you give me money. And then you give him a letter from Momodi Mommy, and he's like, fine. But this is where you can buy like upgraded gear, you can buy dye, trade craft materials, blah blah blah. So this is just your initial market stop.
He tells you a bit about the markets. He's like spends a minute talking to you about how Ul'dah is the hub of overland trade routes, and also
it's very impressive.
It is important because this is why they are the moneyed city.
Of course.
It is their identity. And besides being like this overland hub, they're also the place where the maritime trade between Vilbrand and Aldenard meet. And these sound like weird names to you, and the game doesn't tell you this when he's talking to you, but Aldenard is the mainland of Eorzea. That's where you are now. And then Vilbrand is the name for the island chain where La Nocia and the starting city of Lemsa Lamensa are. So it's just dropping these names at you without any context.
And like, ooh, wow, this no. This is just literally like the continental landmass you're on.
Yep. So anyway, this is where the trade flows, and he's making it sound all important. And he's like, without this letter, we wouldn't give you shit, even though it gives you the shortest explanation ever.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, for telling me where I'm standing.
Yep.
I think I can glean what it is. Anyway, but yes, you have to make these contacts just to familiarize yourself with the way the city's laid out. And when you go back to turn your quests in to Momodi Mommy, she's like, I'm sure everything seems really confusing right now, but you're not going to get very far if you don't commit some of these locations to memory. You got to like walk around the town, like walk around the city, like you have a purpose. You are invested in where everything is, and you know.
Well, on that note, side quests unlock for you after you talk to Momodi for the first time. And these aren't mandatory. You can do the entire game and not do a single side quest, and you're fine.
I did that.
Exactly. Case in point.
I'm trying to fix it now. You know, I'm leveling different jobs at the moment, and that really helps. But yeah, like fuck, I've got like these gold little side quest dots all over every single map, and it's starting to bother me.
Some of them are pretty brain dead, honestly, and they're like the worst content mechanically speaking. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's not worth your time in terms of getting like the game story, but they do give you some flavor for the locations.
Yeah.
I wish they did fewer but more interesting side quests versus...
I think it's a really easy way to level up in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes, but they don't count for much XP-wise later on, and you'll get all the XP you need from doing the main story quest.
Like after maybe level 40, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, though, here, they're a good way to get the lay of the land, and they actually do encourage you to go to every single place in the city because you'll do these errands for people, and it's like, you know, paltry little business stuff, but it's like, hey, you know, let's go to the Weavers Guild. Let's go to the Alchemist Guild.
And you will encounter these people in probably the MSQ in some capacity. There's a lot of cross-guild communication, really. Yep. So these characters are not just flavor for like, oh, I want to be a weaver, I want to do crafting. Like these characters are actually really involved in Ul'dah, and they will come up in the MSQ. Like it's this, you know, it's like a legit city. You're encountering like the big players, and they're not just there for flavor. They take part in the plot.
Sure, but of course you never know this when you first meet them. It seems like, you know, you're doing like some runarounds and so on, and not realizing you're talking to these big players in the city.
So I think it helps though to know that, you know, these are important, you know, semi-important NPCs, and they do contribute to, I think, the overall immersion and your experience in the city. So don't like dismiss them as just like blah blah blah, skip whatever.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that you know that you read what they have to say, because there's flavor everywhere.
There's a bit that is worth noting here as well, even in our very starting area. Talked about Wymond being an asshole beforehand and getting you to snoop on debtors to the Platinum Mirage, which is the gambling house in the city.
Still haven't gotten in there.
Well, that's okay. It's not. the real action is at the Gold Saucer, not at the
know, yeah.
the
I go up to that receptionist. She's like, I'm sorry. This is a very exclusive club. I'm like, fuck you. I'm level 90, bitch.
I'm a gillionaire, damn it.
Yeah. Look at all these dollars I got. You still can't get in. I don't know what the fuck.
We also swing by the Order of Ul'dahn as well on some of the side quests. And this is the temple in the like northwestern or like western part of the outer ring of the city.
Or the ossuary.
Well, it's actually a dual-purpose area. It's got like a temple above, and then there's the ossuary down below. And of course, it's also where the Thaumaturge's Guild is housed too. And you meet some priests there while you're there. Ul'dahn is one of the 12 deities of Erzea. It's kind of an interesting deity because it's both two in one. Like Nald and Thal are twins, but also they're like one unified god. And the Ul'dahn kind of pantheon, they are actually worshipped separately as different entities. Yeah. Even though people generally call them Nald Thal as one entity elsewhere.
Yeah, but if they're going to evoke them in conversation, it's going to be Tal's balls.
Yep.
Or by the beard of Nald. He probably doesn't have a beard, but anyway, shit like that. They reference them separately.
Yep. They're the god of life and death and of commerce. So Nald...
Capitalism, all of it intertwined.
I think that might be an Ul'dahn spin on the gods
100%.
A little bit. But
yes.
Nald sees the fortunes of the living, so the people who are alive, and presumably the merchants, they tip something over to Ul Nald to see to their fortunes. And then Tal weighs the worth of the dead. One priest actually tries to shake you down for some donations to Tal in exchange for a better treatment in the afterlife. There's like a lot of, you know, give me money now so you can have a better afterlife later.
Oh, so wow, we've got the sale of indulgences.
Exactly. It's pretty fucked up. He's like, you know, he's like, you know, just give me some money. Like, I guarantee that Tal is not getting any gil. It's going all right to the temple's pockets.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And of course, you need to pay separately for burial services too. So if you're rich enough, you get to go in the ossuary. If you can't afford things, your body gets thrown in the desert for the animals.
Yep.
So Welcome to Ul'dah. After we go back to Momodi and we tell her we did our errands and we talk to the people, we get to actually go outside the city finally. I think you were around here, Jen, the first time you were playing, and you had done everything in the city, and you've got this quest saying, go outside the city and go do some stuff.
Yeah, every job starts out with go outside the city walls, find some level 1 mobs, and kill them.
And you're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do.
Do I punch them?
And I look at your quest log.
Nobody's given me like a gun or a
sword.
Hammer or I don't
And
know
you're
what
playing
I'm
a thaumaturge.
doing. I've got a staff.
Yeah, you got a staff, and you go
Whack 'em.
outside after I give you some kicks in the butt to do so.
It's scary.
And
Scary.
Nothing outside is. You'd have to try to get knocked out by one of these things. It'd be difficult to lose to one of these creatures here.
I didn't.
And
was
you
like,
proceed to go.
My life was on the line here.
You walk out and hit them with your staff, your magic staff.
Yeah, I don't use magic.
No. You just beat them with staff for a while.
It makes a great noise too.
Until I'm like, you got these spells here you can cast, and then obviously you figure it out, and now you're a proficient black mage today. But
Thank you.
It was a rough start.
It was really intimidating. You get so comfortable immediately with the inside the walls of Ul'dah, and you walk outside, and it's just it's the Wild West. Almost literally out there. There's these little outposts every so often, but it's just mobs and thieves and beastmen wandering about willy-nilly, and it's you and your little stick, and I don't know what the fuck. But no, it's very nice. The landscape I think is beautiful.
Momodi, though, she keeps you on task for the main quest here, and tells you to go meet someone in the train yard outside the city. This is the dispatch yard. So we head out to central Thanalan.
This is where we start. This is like, all right, your first job. Bam.
So central Thanalan is pretty verdant as far as Thanalan goes. It's got a lot of growth. It's got a stream running through, presumably part of the water supply for the city. It's got like a lot of little squat trees and little shrubs and so on immediately outside the city. In the distance, it kind of dissipates into more of a rocky barrens, but at the very start, you're getting some life there. And also you get a pile of like little shrews and hornets and so on. And the biggest, scariest thing is a giant turtle.
That terrified
with like
me.
fungal stalks out of his back.
No, it's like 2 stories high. It's an enormous tortoise.
It doesn't, like, nothing's aggressive here. They're all chill.
Yeah.
But the turtle is scary comparatively. Excuse me, the tortoise is scary. Thank you. Straight outside the gates here is the shanty town for the refugees who cannot live it up on Pearl Lane.
A lot of shanty towns.
Yes.
Also, going back to the giant tortoise, it's just like that giant tortoise from Neverending Story, where he looks like he's just like a giant muddy mound, and he's got like moss and foliage on top of his shell, and he has this enormous, like sharp, tortoise beak. It's terrifying. So that when I saw that, I'm like, shit, it's the Neverending Story tortoise. Who, I think the worst thing he does is sneeze on you in the movie. But
this is where it ends for Jen.
Yeah. Like, okay, anyway.
So we take a short trip there to the east of the gate to the dispatch yard. This is like a single train track running through the dispatch yard. My theory is that in this game, like the environments are abbreviated. Like, you can go across a zone in like a minute, like on foot even.
Sure.
Like it speaks. It's bigger than it appears to be on the screen. The space is compressed for the gameplay purposes. So presumably there are several tracks here, and when our station master talks up the yard, he's like, here's where all the trains come through, and it's like a quiet yard with like one train track going through it. Mm-hmm. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and assume...
They're very proud. They had to rebuild this after the calamity.
They did. We'll assume, though, that there are more trains that we just don't see in our zoomed out. It's
sure,
all relative,
we're off doing our adventuring bullshit,
exactly.
And commerce is happening.
Eyes on the prize.
Yeah, just trains all day long. But right now, there's a pause. Everybody's on break.
Yep. I don't see many trains though in this game in general. Like I feel like
I don't remember a single.
Someone missed
train.
the memo in terms of having other zones have train yards, because he talks up this being like where commerce goes. They put things on the train, they ship it out.
It's not like they have a port.
But
well, they have a lot of caravans that are I think that's. So it's like trucks. We got like the trucking situation, which is more like the chocobo driven.
What I mean though is that there's no other train yards elsewhere that this connects to, contrary to what this guy, his name is Papashan,
Oh, sure, yeah.
contrary to Papashan's description, we don't find like a Gردanian train yard.
Yeah, just don't pay too close attention. It's fine. Just assume shit happens. It's cool.
Shit happens. It's elsewhere. It's behind the houses, obviously.
Industry
Anyway.
is going on. Don't worry about it.
Papashan is a white-haired Lala. He's got a nice mustache as well, very trimmed. He's a very important character, but I forgot we meet him here because,
I forgot how soon you meet him.
Right.
I guess I remember it being kind of like a big deal. Ooh, my first quest line outside of the city
That
walls.
was like a double take for me. This playthrough was like, is that Papashan there?
Like already? Like, yeah,
right?
Goddamn,
But
yeah.
yes, it is. And he plays it cool though. He's like, I'm the station master. I'm retired. He's not. He's lying to you. But
You don't know that. Well, I mean, you don't know, but you find out that he's kind of keeping information from you for the sake of security measures, I guess, but you don't know that.
Right. So he's like, go bring my guards some pretzels, and you run around and do so, which seems like the dumbest thing ever. But these guards are actually Sultan sworn.
Also, the line that he tells you when he gives you the pretzels, I'm like, all right, got some guys scoping out the landscape, just doing a little watch duty. They're probably hella annoyed at the duty because it's real hot in the day and it's really cold at night. So give them these pretzels. I enjoy a pretzel when I feel like killing myself. And I had to go back into my chat log and like, did he just say that? Because the dialogue box just like was there and gone. I'm like, yeah, no, that's what he said. I'm like, okay, we'll go help some people not kill themselves by giving them these pretzels.
I think wearing armor in Thanalan during the day would be an awful experience.
This is some hella armor also. But yes, anyway.
So he spills the beans almost immediately. He's like, these guys are Sultan sworn actually, and I'm having you go check on them to see if they found anything.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for a young
looking for stuff.
noblewoman.
I don't think that. No. That he wasn't. No, he doesn't tell you that.
No, he tells you they're Sultan sworn. I guarantee it.
Yes, but he doesn't tell you that they're looking for a lost noblewoman.
After you get back is when he tells you
He's
that.
like, sorry, I had to lie to you.
Right. I mean, the ruse goes on for like 5 minutes.
Right.
And then he's like, they're looking for a noblewoman. He's playing it really coy because the Sultan sworn, the personal guard of the Sultana, is looking for a noblewoman of no import. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's more like the Sultana, if anything happened to this noblewoman, the Sultana would be extremely upset. Nay, the entire city would be heartbroken if anything happened to this woman from a very prestigious family, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, okay.
To further undermine his story, though, the Sultan sworn, they used to be like the palace guard in general, but there have been cutbacks. The syndicate is essentially cutting their budget. So more and more of the palace is being guarded by the brass blades, which is an important detail for later. And the Sultan sworn have been pared back to being just like the Sultana's close guard, essentially. There are very few remaining today. But he's like, okay, so they haven't found her yet. Please help us go search for this noblewoman named Lady Lalira. He kicks us back out into the desert to go looking for this noblewoman. And that's where we'll leave off for today.
Yep.
Next time, we'll pick up with Lady Lalira.
Lilira.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll be in 2 weeks. Next week, we're going to take a break to talk about the Gladiator class.
Woo! Killing and spilling.
Until next time, killing and spilling.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us on the first episode of Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We're looking forward to a lot more to come. And be sure to subscribe. And we'll see you next time.